back with part 2. This is after being replaced. So, just to start off, I'm not very good with like ages and like, because I believe kids start going to preschool around 3, right? And then kindergarten around like 5, right? Anyways, so I was 5, and one day I can't remember if my FB was already born at this point or not, or he was about to be born or whatever. But we had a corner house, and it was like our house, and then another corner house and a cul-de-sac, and then down the street was my elementary school that I went to and my FB went to. So on nice days we would walk to and from school. Like both of us, like obviously I was out of school before he went into school, but I'm just saying like our parents would walk us to and from school on nice days. So I remember this very vividly. Little me, I'm just walking with my FD. He picked me up from school. I believe it was kindergarten. Yeah, I think so. Kindergarten. And he was walking me. We were just like walking, and we were about to hit the cul-de-sac. And he was like, oh yeah, like we moved your room, and because the baby needs a room and all of that, which granted, let me sidetrack. This is why I do not want a second child, even though I was treated badly and poorly, and there were even comments, like, not from them, but, like, even from my FB's friends, like, oh, you were adopted, so, like, you're less important, whatever, which is fucked up, and I will get into that story in a minute. Well, not in a minute, but... Okay, I think I got this now. It is getting hot. But... Shit, my mind went blank. But I know that regardless if you have like one adopted child, one, biological child, the youngest always has to have more attention. Obviously, actual babies need more attention than like toddlers, and obviously toddlers need attention, but regardless of, your family situation, the youngest has to have more attention than the older one. So that's why I only want one baby, and that's what I have right now. So I'm not planning on having any more kids, because I want her to have my full attention. I want her to, any extra money that I have, I want it to go directly to her, and what she wants to do, sports, whatever. So anyways, back to the story. He was like telling me, we moved you downstairs, and mind you, I'm like 5 turning 6, and I was frightened of the basement. So like, they literally, while I was at school, they took all my shit out of the bedroom upstairs, and they fucking put it in the basement. And obviously, sure, he needs his own room. Granted, he needs his own room, whatever. But he's still a baby right now. Like, either he was just born, or he wasn't even born yet. So, but like, they could have, I know I was 5 years old, but they could have nicely like talked to me about it, like, hey, like, I just want you to know we're going to do this, we're going to do that, before they did it. That's just something that was never done, and that's because my FM just didn't give a fuck. Like, once she had her kids, she just didn't give a fuck. Like, that's just the truth. Like, she stopped, like, oh, well, let's consult Maya, like, let's tell her about this. Like, even if it was, like, it had to happen, at least you could have, like, told me, like, I know I was 5 years old, but you could have told me, So, they were just like, oh, yeah, we took all your stuff downstairs, and, I got home, they were already painting the pink room blue, and, I went downstairs, and like, it's cold, it's dark, it's really different, and they right from there, they're like, oh, we're not gonna paint it. So because like the room that I had in the basement, the floor, like the carpet was dark blue, and then the walls were blue, and they were just like, yeah, we're not painting that, like, we're not painting it pink, we're not painting it any color, just so you know, whatever. And that's kind of fucked up. Like, I feel like, not like the painting, whatever, because like as I got older, it's like, who fucking cares? Like, and like when I did move out at 16, but like even at 16, it's just like a pink room would kind of be obnoxious. I mean, I do like pink, but it'd be obnoxious. But yeah, so it's just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Because yes, I know it was bound to happen, it had to happen, but like, I'm a human being too, you know? And that's like, it fucking went downhill from there. Just fucking downhill. I remember there were times where, where Nala and Kelly would come over, and my bedtime was literally like fucking 7 o'clock. And during the summer, it's still right outside of 7 o'clock. So, this one is so fucked up, but I can laugh because how I acted about it. But because he had his room, my FB had his room upstairs, and he was like a baby or whatever. Kelly and Nala would come over, but like they couldn't go home, like their parents weren't home, or the one parent that was over there, I can't remember. Like I said, I can't remember when their parents got divorced. That's not my story anyways. But they would come over, and they would have to stay like to a certain time till their parents could pick them up. So my FM would be like, okay, Maya, go to bed. And I'd have to go downstairs, and like my FB's bedroom, because like it's the living room and then my room, and his room was like above the living room, so it was fairly close. So, and like the vents, like my vent went right below my parents' room, but you know, that's, the bedrooms are close. So I could hear him, like, I could hear them playing with him and laughing. And I remember this so vividly. So like, it was a basement, but it had like those little half crescent moon like windows that don't open, but you know, just to let a little light in there. And so I remember I was so mad. So I went down and I laid down, and I had the door open, and so obviously I think they were in the living room, so I could hear him like really loud. And I was just fuming. I was fucking fuming. Like, little old me, I'm like 5 or 6 or 7, fucking fuming because I want to play, and my friends are over, and I can't play because I have to go to bed. And they're playing with my FB, and I was already pissed about that, you know? So, I remember going up the stairs, like marching up the stairs, like, I can't sleep. You guys are being too loud. And she's like, well, close the door then, but you know, whatever. Like, just getting older and like thinking about that, like, I just feel like that's so fucked up. Like, I feel like she did that shit on purpose. Like, I understand kids have like bedtimes, but it was clearly summertime. So why was I supposed to go to bed at like a certain bedtime when my friends are still over here and they're still like being loud, making noise? Like, that's not fair to me, you know? I would never, that's like a list of things. I'm gonna make a video of like a list of things that I'll never fucking do to my daughter, because I know how it feels, because that was bullshit right there. But yeah, so she literally made me go to bed when my friends were still over. My life. I remember one time, I think this might have been before she got pregnant. No, it had to be after. I don't know. I think it might have been before. It had to be before. This is like, okay, so technically this was before I got replaced, but it was still like a shitty part of my childhood, so I'll just throw it in here, because the last video is kind of positive. So I remember one time at band camp, just kidding, but I was like 4 or 5 something. We went to the Westminster Mall. If you're like an OG person from Colorado, you know that shit was poppin'. We went, like, I used to love going there to like the Disney store, but yeah, so we went to the Westminster Mall. I remember we were leaving, and like that day we had plans, like, we were gonna go to the mall, then Maya, you're gonna go over to Kelly and Nala's house to go play. So yeah. Actually, so that neighbor girl that I was talking about in my last video, that I wasn't gonna give her name, I'm just gonna say her name is, like, because I think this is the only video I'll put her in. We'll just give her Kelly, Nala, and Maddie. We'll give her the name Maddie, because whatever. Kelly, Nala, Maddie. Maddie wasn't cousins or anything. She was just a friend from across the street. Anyways, so we were, she's like, okay, we're going to the mall, then you're gonna go to Nala and Kelly's house after. Said that, but whatever. I remember we were leaving the mall and there was like this lady with peanuts, this Hispanic lady with peanuts. I remember this so vividly. It was like a kiosk thing with a whole bunch of peanuts, and I asked my, I was hungry, and I asked my FM if I could have some peanuts. And she went up to the lady and she's like, oh, do you take card? And the lady's like, no, I only take cash or whatever. And she's like, oh, well, I don't have cash, so we gotta go. And I remember throwing a royal fucking fit. Don't ask me fucking why. I was like 5 or 6 years old. But I remember throwing a royal fucking fit and crying about it. I'm not sure if I was like screaming, crying. I might have been, not going to lie. I was a kid, and like I said, I'm gonna expose myself. So I might have been throwing a tantrum. and we got into the parking lot. She's like, you're not going to Nala's and Kelly's house. We're not doing that. You're grounded. And I remember this was before I got replaced because I had to like sit in the corner of the room upstairs. So anyways, so I'm like sitting in the corner all mad, I'm crying, whatever, probably like sniffling, because at this point I was probably kind of done crying. But she's like, do you want to take a walk to Nala and Kelly's house, but you're not gonna play? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know if it was like a do you want to or we have to, because I was young and I think it was only the two of us in the house. But I walked over there, and we opened the door, and Nala and Kelly's mom was like, oh, hey, Maya. And she's like, oh, the girls are out back. Maddie's over here. And she was like, I went, my little ass, I took that as a, okay, there's another adult saying something. Let me go. I tried to zip up the stairs, and she's like, Maya, no, I told you you're not gonna go play with them. And like, granted, I get like being punished for being a brat, but really, like, how are you gonna go take your daughter to their friend's house and be like, well, you're not playing. Like, you gotta come, but you're not playing. Like, I just think that's fucked up. That's another thing I will never do to my daughter, because what the fuck? Like, what is wrong with you? But anyways, that is one of the times, like, before I got replaced, but kind of like a bad memory, like a kind of like, well, not like a bad memory, but like a what the fuck, like, what are you doing as a parent sort of thing. But yeah, like I said, like, my childhood wasn't the worst thing that could ever happen. But there are definitely lessons to be learned from my childhood, and things that I will take for myself and my daughter, parenting wise. So yeah, I need to crack the window because it is hot as hell. But I don't want to, like, there are people in this damn parking lot, and I don't want. Okay, there's like a random glow from the sun, but whatever. Okay, so, and then let's see, another time, let's see, because I feel like this will kind of just be whatever. I remember one time when, I can't remember how old my FB was, but he had been crawling or something, but he bit my back really fucking hard, really hard. So I ran downstairs crying, and like, his mom didn't even fucking really say anything. Like, my FD kind of was like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, whatever. I mean, granted, he was, fuck, you know what? My daughter crawls, and she only has 2 teeth, so it had to be a little bit older. Like, it had to be an age where he knew better, and he could have got punished for it, because that bitch was a full circle of teeth. Like, I remember that. I vividly remember that. So, it was, like, on my back, and he bit my back. But anyways, so I'm just going to start with, because like I said, it gets up to, like, 5th grade, where it gets really shitty. So, it's basically just for, like, I don't know. It's just, like, as soon as he was born, like, and this isn't his fault, obviously, but as soon as he was born, I was just put on the back burner. Like, just, like, growing up, his mom would only have, like, on her phones, she would only have him as her wallpaper. And my FD, his dad, getting, like, you know, being the super nice one, would always put, like, me as his wallpaper, because he didn't want me to feel bad. But, yeah. So, you could totally tell, like, it was just favoritism, specifically with her, just because she didn't really, like, because he didn't really, like I said, he worked 2 jobs, so, and that will come in later, but, you know, so, yeah. I'm trying to see what else, like, what else was, like, fucked up shit that, like, just, I don't know. I really don't know. But, like, the big thing is, for me, is just, like, fucking the room thing. Like, I know that it had to happen. I know that I had to be moved, but, like, the fact that I wasn't even told, like, it's not that hard to talk to a 5-year-old. Like, it's not that hard. Like, even if I said, no, I don't want to, whatever. You're an adult, you know, you're gonna do what you gotta do. But just, like, talk to your kids, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, tell them what's gonna happen. Because I was afraid of that room. And come to find out, it was a good idea. It was made sense because years later, like literally last year, and I moved out at 16, like last year, I found out that my FD had gotten that house for cheap because someone had killed themselves in the room that I had. Thanks for that. I mean, granted, when I had to be moved, there was only 3 bedrooms. My FD made a 4th bedroom in the house. So, I mean, there wasn't really anywhere else for me to go at that point. But, yeah, there's that. So, yeah. It's just, like, it was just mostly, like, once my FB was born, like, I was pushed out of the way, like, she would just do really foul things, like, things that, like, at that time, obviously, I'm a kid, I'm just like, oh, that's so unfair, but now I'm just like, that's fucking unfair, like, what the fuck. But, yeah, so, like, drink every time I said, like, because, whatever, I don't know, it's just a lot of stuff, like, this is, like, oh my god, I'm gonna shoot myself. This is just small things, like little foreshadowing things, like, oh, you're definitely being fucking replaced, bye. Yeah, so it's just, I don't know, the last greatest memory that I have is my 5th birthday party, because it was good. But yeah, so, and like I said, I know younger kids need more attention, but it was literally just fucked up shit that happened. So, yeah. And now I have to, like, turn this off because I have my next story time. Girl, my next story time. The time I got called a whore in the 5th grade. When it, like, really went fucking downhill, like, fast. I got called a whore in 5th grade. So watch out for that video because story of my fucking life. Bye.